Okay, it says we're now live on YouTube. Go ahead and start. All right.
We're ready.
Thank you very much. We experienced some technical delays, but we are now ready to prepare our last meeting for the month of October. Welcome to the City of Battle Creek and our Battle Creek City Commission meeting for October 20th, 2020. It is a little bit after 7 p.m. now. This is our virtual meeting. To participate in public comment, the Zoom telephone number is 312-626-6799. That's 312-626-6799. The meeting ID number is 919-6527-0498. Once again, the meeting ID number is 919-6527-0498. We'll have a moment of silence for our invocation, and then we're going to ask Commissioner Susan Baldwin to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can stand for a moment of silence, please do so, and also for the pledge. Commissioner Baldwin, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Baldwin. Next item on our agenda is a roll call. Vicki, when you're ready.
Commissioner Baldwin.
Here.
Commissioner Ferris.
Here.
Commissioner Flores.
Here.
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Mayor Banky.
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin.
Here.
Commissioner Lance.
Here.
Commissioner Simmons.
Here.
And Vice Mayor Sophia.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All commissioners are present. We're going to continue on with some proclamation and awards for two retiring commissioners. Our first commissioner will be Commissioner Susan Baldwin, and then we'll follow up with Commissioner Chris Simmons. I want to say that it's been a pleasure really putting these together, and I want to thank city staff for helping us out, and then also the commissioners who reviewed them just to make certain that we didn't misquote anything or say anything that would be out of line. This proclamation is for Susan Baldwin. Whereas this two-named Michigan city thought Susan Baldwin was great. Susan served 4 terms as mayor. The question was Battle Creek, and the question and answer was on Jeopardy in 2014. How fitting, since Commissioner Susan Baldwin has been great for our city. And whereas Susan Baldwin was elected as an at-large commissioner in 2003 and has been re-elected 7 terms, which makes her one of the longest serving members of the Battle Creek City Commission. She served as mayor from 2009 to 2013 and vice mayor from 2015 to 2017. And whereas Commissioner Baldwin's professional expertise and experience in law, economic development, and consulting allowed her to provide valuable input, helping the commission make decisions in the best interest of all members of our community. Her goal has been to build Battle Creek into the best community it can be. And whereas community involvement has always been an area of passion for Commissioner Baldwin, she has served on the Battle Creek Community Foundation boards and committees, chaired the Binder Park Zoo Board, served on the Economic Development Corporation for Calhoun County, and many others. And whereas while serving on the City Commission, she served on and chaired many boards and committees, including Battle Creek Unlimited Board of Directors, AMSA, Calhoun County Consolidated Dispatch Authority, City Manager and City Attorney Performance Evaluation Committees, Human Relations Board, Legacy Cost Committee, Police and Fire Retiree Health Care Insurance Board, Planning Commission, and the Public Transportation Committee. She has been an active member of the Michigan Municipal League, serving on many of its committees and boards and speaking at several events. And whereas we will miss the knowledge, history, and leadership that Commissioner Baldwin has provided for over the last 17 years and appreciate her willingness to serve the residents of Battle Creek, we wish her health and happiness in her new endeavors. Therefore, on behalf of the Battle Creek City Commission, we do hereby proclaim Susan Baldwin be recognized for her contributions while serving on the Battle Creek City Commission. Susan, I thought that was beautiful. Thank you very much. We're going to miss you a lot. No matter what happens in the election, you got to remember that you did an outstanding job. And I think each and every one of the commissioners really acknowledge the service that you've given, not only to the city commission, but to the people of Battle Creek. I'm going to
Thank
allow
you
you to
very
speak for a
much.
couple
It's been
minutes.
an honor.
Yes.
I was just going to say thank you. It's been an honor. It has been the most enjoyable thing of my professional career to be able to serve the city of Battle Creek and to work with the many commissioners over all of these years, and really enjoyed working with the staff. I think the city of Battle Creek, currently led by Rebecca Fleury, are fabulous, dedicated folks, and we are very lucky to have them for our city staff. Thank you.
And once again, thank you, Susan. Just a couple months ago, we were trying to talk Susan into staying around, and she goes, Mark, she goes, I've already signed up for classes that my sister and I are going to be taking together. So she is focused, she is planning ahead, and I think that's what Susan has always done for the people of Battle Creek. Does any other commissioner wish to say anything at this time?
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Susan. Certainly, we work together through the Battle Creek Community Foundation. I look forward to that continuing. Your input there has been invaluable as well. So thank you for your service to our community, to our city, and community as a whole through all those different avenues that were mentioned during the proclamation, and I'm sure a lot that were not mentioned. So thank you.
Any other commissioners, just feel free to go ahead.
Susan, I personally like to thank you for taking the time when I first started on the commission, having lunch with me and kind of explaining the process and just sharing your institutional knowledge. 17 years, that's amazing. And we hope that we can continue on with your with what you've done and to continue progressing. Thank you.
All right, once again, Susan, congratulations. We appreciate everything that you've done for us. We'd like to continue on with a proclamation for Chris Simmons. Whereas the Battle Creek City Commissioner Christopher Simmons was first elected to the commission in 2007 and served the neighbors of Ward 1 until 2011. He served as vice mayor from 2009 to 2011. And whereas in 2017, he was reelected to the Battle Creek City Commission in Ward 4 and served a 3-year term. During his tenures, he has always listened to his constituents and represented them with integrity and to the best of his ability. And whereas Christopher Simmons is a longtime resident of Battle Creek and has a great passion for his community. He's a technical sergeant in the Michigan Air National Guard, where he works full-time as an information technology specialist. He was an active member of the community prior to serving on the city commission. He was a member of the Kingdom Museum Board, the Calhoun County Solid Waste Committee, and a member of his neighborhood planning council, and an active member of his church. And whereas, while on the Battle Creek City Commission, he served on the Sustainable Battle Creek Committee, Binder Park Golf Course Advisory Committee, Sister City Exploration Committee, City Attorney Evaluation Salary Review Committee, City Manager Performance Evaluation Committee, AMSA, Access Vision Board, Battle Creek Area Transportation Study, Insurance Policy Review Committee, and the Tax Abatement Committee. And whereas Christopher Simmons' top priority has always been to make Battle Creek a better place to live, work, and raise a family. He has been a strong voice for people in adopting the ordinance to allow chickens to be kept on residential property. He advocated for changes to the city's hotel-motel ordinance for the betterment of the health and safety of our community. He supported the exploring of a sister city relationship with Burma, Chin State, and Falam by serving as the chairperson of the Sister City Exploration Committee. Therefore, on behalf of the Battle Creek City Commission, we do hereby proclaim that Christopher Simmons be recognized for his contributions while serving on the Battle Creek City Commission. We know Chris will continue to serve as an active member of our community, and we thank him for his service. Chris, just like Susan, it's a very long period of time serving the people of Battle Creek. You are always involved in a situation that just brought joy to me because they were always so interesting, some of the constituent concerns that you had. So, and it says a lot about you being accessible. A lot of times commissioners aren't able to be as accessible as you are. You've even had to point out some people that you haven't been very accessible to, and I respect you for that. I really do. I think that's important, that we treat each other with respect, and in turn you get respect back. So Chris, congratulations. I know that I will miss you. I know the people of Battle Creek will miss you too. Thank you. Any other commission comments at this time?
But Mark, may I just have a couple of words?
Sure.
You know, you read that long list and a lot of those committees. I have to say, and you just read the proclamation before me about Susan Baldwin. A lot of those committees she has chaired, and she has done a lot of the heavy lifting. And I tell you what, the city of Battle Creek, in losing Commissioner Baldwin, and I appreciate everything nice you said about me, but is losing some immense institutional knowledge and some heavy lifting on these committees. And it's going to be very difficult to fill those shoes. And I've been privileged to work with the likes of her and yourself and other commissioners that, you know, sometimes we don't all see eye to eye, but I think we all truly have the best interest of the citizens of the city of Battle Creek at heart. We might not agree how we get there at all times, but I truly believe that. And I truly believe that we all represent our constituents to the best of our ability. And we're doing this not out of some kind of a personal gain. My daughter is diving over at Lakeview High School tonight, and I'm missing it because I'm at a city commission meeting. And I know, Mr. Mayor, you missed a lot of sporting events for your daughter and your son when you're at these things. And it's a public service. It really is. And we do our best because we love our community, because we love our families, because I love my kids and I want to make our city a better place for them to live. I'm really honored and privileged, as Commissioner Baldwin mentioned, I was on ball, so and be served better.
I think we're having some problems, some technical difficulties right now. I think we experienced some technical difficulties there, but is there any other commission comments at this time?
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to say to my seatmate down at the far end of the rostrum that, you know, we have had our disagreements through the years, and, you know, you've always been very respectful when we have disagreed on issues, and I have appreciated that, and I've appreciated the perspectives that you've shared with me, and I will miss seeing you. But you'll be in town, I understand that, but just on a more regular basis. So thank you, Chris.
Any other commission comments at this time? All right, once again, we thank all four of the commissioners who we have given a proclamation to. It was fun putting this together, and congratulations. I'll make sure that the city manager's office gets you the hard copies, maybe a couple extras. Next item on our agenda is the chair noting any added or deleted resolutions. Madam Clerk?
We're none.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is petitions, communications, and reports. I'd like to turn it over to the city manager, who will in turn introduce our Revenue Services Director, Linda Morrison.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. It is always my pleasure to get to introduce Linda Morrison to you. You know, as we committed to this commission, we would provide regular budget updates for this current fiscal year. And so we welcome her this evening to share our most recent budget update. Linda, thanks for being here.
And thank you very much, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commissioners, Rebecca, to talk with you about the September 30th, 3 months financial statements with a focus on the general fund. The finance staff works really hard to get the numbers in a timely fashion so that, as Rebecca has promised, we are getting you up-to-date information as quickly as possible after the month end. So thank you very much to my finance staff and all around the organization, the managers that helped make that happen. But there is a PDF report attached to your agenda, and everyone will be able to see that on the city's website this week in the finance budget section. This budget status report highlights the general fund, but also presents information on the major and local streets funds. Thank you very much to the retiring commissioners. Your service is greatly appreciated. And for your benefit and the benefit of all, I will play my broken record about the financial position of the city this early in the fiscal year. Don't get too excited about the bottom line. I know you've heard me say that 100 times, but it's the truth. All the property tax is recognized in the first and second quarters of the year. That makes things look pretty rosy about this time of year. Also, which is unique to this pandemic environment, there are other intergovernmental revenues that are about $2.5 million. That reflects federal CARES funds that were passed through the state of Michigan. And please bear with me as I run off some acronyms. I'm nothing like Jim Blocker with the military acronyms, but the state likes their acronyms too, as we all do in government. But that intergovernmental revenue of 2.5 million includes CRLGG, which is Coronavirus Relief Local Government Grants, in the amount of $391,827, Public Safety Payroll Reimbursement, PSPHPR, of $1.9 million, and hazard pay, which I didn't bother to write down the acronym for that, but hazard pay is nice and easy to say, of $180,000. These are all one-time revenues, and I can't stress enough that one time. The amounts are expected to change before being final. The state is still reviewing the PSPHPR request, and for now has given all the applicants 50% of what we requested. So it's possible there will be more pass-through. We're just waiting to see, and they will make a decision by December of what, if any, additional pass-through funds there will be. Hazard pay will decrease as we work through the changes to the state's requirements for reimbursement by October 31st. These one-time revenue increases are offset by a decline in income tax revenue of about $645,000. Fortunately, we took a very conservative approach for the income tax budget and assumed a 20% reduction for this fiscal year. Thus, the 23.34% of budget that has been recognized in these 3 months looks okay, even with the steep decline from the prior year. Additional offsets are decreases in licenses and permits, charges for services and recreation due to closures and programs that have not been run, as well as the timing in a difference in timing for the billing for police services for the Bedford Township contract. Excluding property taxes, all other revenue in the general fund is at 36.29% of budget and is an increase of 11.84% compared to the prior year. Again, the only reason that looks that way is because of those one-time revenues. And you'll probably get sick of me saying that all year long too. So in the major and local streets funds, revenues are looking very decent. They've increased over the prior year by 9% in the major fund and 11% in the local fund. Expenditures are considerably below budget, a little below 17% in major and a little below 18% in local as we work our way through the fiscal year. This is an indication of the spending freeze that has gone across the organization. Everyone is being very careful with their budgets. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions anybody might have.
Are there any questions of our finance director?
Yes, Mayor, I do have one question, and it might be for Rebecca. I'm not sure, but in looking at the document that was provided, I'm thinking it might be helpful when it comes to some of those basic services. Not that I was asking about police and fire before we started our Zoom call tonight, is to just maybe put more in layman's terms some of the figures that we're looking at, as far as just essential services. And does that translate into any changes that we can articulate in a more clear way to those essential services with police and fire?
Well, I don't want to make an assumption, Commissioner, but I'm assuming that when I look into our statement of revenue expenditures and changes, there are some highlighted sections in there, particularly in regards to police and fire. And that is really for us to call out, that those services are still being provided at a very high level. And appreciate you recognizing that. But it also is reflective of furloughs in both the fire department and the police department. And yet, we have certainly seen increased levels of service from both the police and fire in activities that are normal, if not slightly above normal in the summer months, which is what is being reflected here through 9:30. Again, Chief Blocker is on the phone, on this call, and I'm sure he would respond to it. I'm sorry if the fire chief can't be here, but it does remain that we still have 4 firefighters on layoff at this current time. Their buildings certainly aren't open to the public, whereas the police department is. And yet, they still continue to provide, both the police officers and the firefighters, a very high level of service to the community in a global pandemic. So they answer those calls for service. They put themselves out there for the protection and safety of our community, and we're very grateful. Chief Blocker, did you want to add anything? I know that it shows a 22.21% of budget actual to current adjusted budget, and similar for the fire department. Linda, did I catch that right?
Yes, you did, as well as a 7.67 decrease from the prior year for police department expenditures.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I was wanting to articulate to the public, because when you see these numbers, you might think that there's some essential services that are not being provided. And I want to be clear where we are to the public, so that they know that services are still being provided at a high level.
I appreciate that, because even, from the moment that we were kind of under this umbrella of a global pandemic, work didn't stop, particularly for police and fire and for transit, as well as water and wastewater services. Again, those are defined as critical and essential infrastructure components in this global pandemic world. And we have tremendous staff that continue to serve the community in those particular areas. But I think Linda also pointed out there are some that just can't function at the level that they normally do, such as recreation, when most of their facilities have been closed to the public and unable to be utilized to their full potential. And so that's why you see, decreases in, those areas different than the other essential services.
Thank you.
And just so everyone knows, I cannot get my window to see everyone's hand that if you'd like to speak. So feel free just to chime in tonight. I'm very sorry, but for some reason it's not popping up where it should. Are there any other commission comments or questions for Linda or Rebecca?
I just wanted to know if Chief had anything to add to that.
All right, Chief Blocker.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the question. I can tell you this. So the cost of crime remains pretty steady, and the fact that 911 calls are being answered, certainly priority 1 calls, none of those things have been impacted. Just today, I had that discussion with the command staff, is that really operations, we've worked very hard to not impact. We are seeing a slight uptick in our calls for service, our ability to get there quickly. We've been pretty proud of that over the years. That started to decrease or really increase in terms of our time to get there. Nights like last night, for example, were incredibly busy. We run out of officers quickly. However, I can also tell you where we've been significantly impacted, and this is what really this group needs to understand, it's our ancillary services, our community engagement opportunities. Police Explorer program, Citizens Police Academy. Those really all important, just as important opportunities. Those are the ones that have been impacted the most. And you start to lose headway when it comes to that public perception, trust, transparency. All of those things start to come into question when we start to do it less. So that's the concern that we have. That's the risk that we've taken on because of our budget. We had to do it somewhere, and that's probably the highest and most significant risk. But at the same time, you have an action tonight where there's some risks we just can't take, and certainly more on that here shortly. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments at this time? Once again, thanks, Rebecca, and thanks, Linda. Next item on our agenda is the adoption of Ordinance 211. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
On March 10, 2020, at a special city election, the City of Battle Creek voters approved 2 proposals to amend the city charter. One provided for the direct election of the mayor, and the second called for the city charter to use ungendered language throughout. This resolution adopts Ordinance 08-2020, amending all sections of Chapter 212 of the City Code to implement provisions of 2 charter amendments approved by the voters in March 2020 for the direct election of the mayor and using ungendered language in the city charter with a commission desire to carry that out throughout the ordinances.
This is Commissioner Flores. I move for the adoption of Ordinance 08-2020.
This is Commissioner Gray. Support.
Moved and supported to adopt Ordinance 211, 08-2020. Are there any commission comments at this time? Seeing none, are there any public comments?
Yes, Commissioner, or I'm sorry, yes, Mayor, we do have a couple callers in the waiting room. So let me get that timer started.
All right.
And we will start with John Kennefick.
Go ahead, John.
Please press *6, John, to unmute yourself. There you go.
No comments at this time, thank you.
You're welcome. Next citizen, please.
We will move to John Compton. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
John, do you have
No
any comments?
comment.
All right, no comments.
No comment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Are there any other commission comments at this time? And go ahead and speak up because my little window's not coming up. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Baldwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferris,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
Mayor Banky,
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Lance,
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
and Vice Mayor Sophia.
Yes.
Thank you.
The adoption of Ordinance 08-2020 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is public comment regarding consent agenda and resolutions not on the consent agenda. Sarah, do you have anyone that is in the queue for this?
Yes, Mayor, let me share our timer. And I think I shared the wrong screen. Sorry about that. Just 1 second. There we go. Let's go ahead and start with John Kennefick. Go ahead and press *6, John.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, John.
Hello. Okay. I'm going to begin with 2 resolutions. Resolution 215, a resolution amending the 2020 tax fee bond insurance schedule for the city of Battle Creek. Let's do a little history of that. On June 18, 2019, Resolution 160, tax bond schedule, which this is also included in, was 81 cost increases to the citizens of Battle Creek. Almost 1 year later, on June 16, 2020, Resolution 144, again, tax bond schedule, which is what 215 is about, 35 cost increases. This Resolution 215 has to do with 9 cost increases in regards to charging fees to hotels and motels in the city of Battle Creek. Didn't take you that long to tax the hell out of everybody. Just thought it was interesting that you were talking about things of such a nature. And I've always wondered if taxing the heck out of people has a positive impact in the community. I always thought it was negative. I think people leave when they're charged a lot. And maybe those hotels and motels will probably increase their fees to their intended customers. And maybe that'll be an incentive to either have them close down their hotels or motels, or perhaps just move out of Battle Creek. The second resolution I wanted to talk about is Resolution 213. It's a resolution authorizing a contract for purchase of body-worn cameras for the police department. Total price $737,300. We have budget problems going on right now, and usually when you have problems economically, you also cut back on things. You don't always like to cut back on things, but you cut back on things because when the time comes, there's not enough money, or you can just charge the taxpayers more taxes and more cost increases, which is usually what you do. So you might want to take that into consideration if it's really a critical thing that you can do without it for a little while and we get over this corona thing, or you just might want to pay for it and then raise our costs down the road. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, Sarah, please.
John Compton, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Go ahead, John.
Hello. Yeah, this has to do with Resolution 213. We need more police on the streets than what we have, and for this resolution for Chief Blocker should be passed 1,000%. He needs the equipment that he needs to keep our streets safe, as you know. But when you don't have money in your budget, as far as I wish you could later on have Ted Deering explain why we don't have 300 and 600 students coming from overseas that him and Mayor Walters went overseas for. Then he came back and resigned as mayor without having to pay for the money that sent him over there, Mayor Walters. And now I don't see 300 to 600 students coming in. You waste our money, and the point is Chief Blocker needs that money more than what you do when you waste it, sending these people places that they don't even deserve to go. Let's think about Battle Creek first and Chief Blocker and his police department. And we went through this before, or giving the city manager a raise when Chief Blocker needs the money. I mean, let's be real, but next term, hopefully, we'll have people in there that have common sense. So that's all I had to say about that there. But if Ted would, say something about where these 600 students are. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Sarah, are there any other comments in the queue?
There are not, Mayor. That's it.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is the commission comments regarding meeting business.
This is Commissioner Flores. I move for the approval of the consent agenda.
It's Commissioner Gray, support.
Thank you for the movement and the support of the consent agenda. Are there any commission comments at this time? And once again, just go ahead and speak up. My little window with all the hands are not popping up tonight. Hearing none, Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Ferris?
Yes.
Commissioner Flores?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes.
Mayor Banky?
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin?
Yes.
Commissioner Lance?
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sophia?
Yes.
And Commissioner Baldwin?
Yes.
Thank you.
The consent agenda has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 213. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
The Battle Creek Police Department has been testing and evaluating multiple body-worn cameras, BWC systems over the past 3 years. The department had the challenge of working through the question of how to add a new line of equipment, BWCs, while also replacing the current and out-of-date in-car systems. The Utility Associates Incorporated system allows BCPD to meet both needs. This resolution authorizes a contract to purchase body-worn cameras for the City of Battle Creek Police Department from Utility Associates Incorporated in an amount of $737,300 with unit prices prevailing.
This is Commissioner Flores. I move for the approval of Resolution 213.
This is Commissioner Gray, support.
Moved and supported to approve Resolution 213. Rebecca, because of the amount of money that's being spent here, I just think that if we could give a little history to the commission and to the public about this purchase, I think would save a lot of the questions that we have. So if you could.
Sure, Mayor, no problem at all. I think as Vicki read, the police department has really been evaluating body cameras for several years. And I know Chief Blacker is going to talk about that. And we have been setting aside money in the risk fund, not the general fund, to be able to support this purchase. I think one of the advantages of going with this system and all of the work that Chief Blacker and his team did was they're going to allow us to pay it over time. So it isn't that we're going to be issuing a $737,000 check. We'll be paying it over a period of years. Again, utilizing our risk, our self-insurance fund to make those payments going forward. Did that answer your question?
Sure, and if you could have the chief elaborate a little bit, I think.
Yes, I sure will. I will pass it out. And you know what? It is very difficult. We know that we are in tight budgetary times, but again, this purchase is not coming out of the general fund. It's coming out of the risk and self-assurance fund for a reason, because of the necessity and the assistance it gives for help, for safety for our officers and for the community. So with that, I will turn it over to the chief. Thanks.
Hi, I'm sorry, my light just turned off. Sorry, it went dark. First of all, thank you very much. This has been a 3-year process. We started looking into, first of all, let me say, it's never been a matter of if we were going to get body worn systems. I've said that to this group repeatedly. It's always been a matter of when. We wanted to invest in this program very carefully. To speak to the very point made by some of the citizen comments and of course your concerns here is how can we do this? How can we mitigate the risk? How can we be transparent? How can we be open and engaging, show folks how instances happen and how these interactions happen, and do it in a real-time way while at the same time being good stewards of our treasury. And I think even more importantly now, that of course became a more significant driving factor when we looked at products. We looked at 6 different vendors. Some were as high as $340,000 a year, and then it was all points in between. However, what was unique about this particular one is that they helped me solve both problems. While we were looking into body cameras, we also knew we had another critical line of equipment that was breaking down and had to be replaced. That was in-car systems. And these are 2 different systems. One we have, one we need to start up new. This program, or this particular vendor, allows us to combine both systems, in-car as well as body-worn, also interview rooms. We can do it all on one platform. Importantly, just the technology alone today, it took us as a team with IT help about 3.5 hours to get our video just from the incident early this morning. That's certainly can't happen. Not today, not when information flows much faster than we can get in front of it. This is real-time video. I can pull it right away. I can actually watch video while calls are happening. It has fully integrated GPS systems. It has emergency alert systems if the officer's in pursuit. If the officer has done anything kinetic, it'll read the pulse and automatically turn on, eliminating the risk that an officer in a highly traumatic and violent and sudden encounter will forget to hit the record button. We don't like it when that happens. It's completely human, but it's hard to explain, perhaps, to the public when they want us to be even better than that. And so this system, I think, brings all of those options that we've been looking for, and it brings it at a remarkably low cost, although it is high. And I was upfront. I said it in my explanation. The memo that you received from me, I tell you, it's an expensive system. This is a new program. However, when we think about risk, we think about trying to mitigate it. We've all heard scenarios, certainly when they rise to the level of circuit court, district court, and federal court. We don't like it when we can't prove through video what actually happened. And I think this is one way to get around that. there's a baseline cost for not being able to prove with a video today. And we all know and recognize that cost. I think the system will pay for itself every year. Penny, any questions that you might have?
Go ahead, commissioners. If you have questions of the chief or Rebecca, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Commissioner Gray. Chief, I thank you for your due diligence and looking into this over time and with so many different vendors to come to this conclusion. I had a question. I know around, as you've been doing this due diligence, there had been questions about the length of time and the storage of these of this footage and how that's going to work and which vendor best meets our needs. Can you talk a little bit to that as far as, I know this is cloud-based, if I remember reading this correctly. So does that have an unlimited storage or kind of explain that that thought process?
Currently, right now, we follow the state of Michigan's retention requirements and policies, which means we don't save every single moment that we capture. However, we do capture, we capture a great deal, and I don't have that information in front of me, but we can certainly get that to you. What this does, though, it gives me a lot more versatility to retaining information a lot longer, even beyond those state retention standards. And I think that's important to understand. More importantly, too, though, it allows me to be able to access it right away. And that was something that we didn't have that ability to do. Our current system, you dock, you didn't have to download it. Almost like a USB type device. You would bring it into the station, you would download it. And then if other systems are downloading, it would clog the pipe and it would just wait. And you never really knew if you downloaded everything until perhaps the next day. And if you didn't, and you weren't there, we had to go find it and then get it downloaded. If this is going to be real time, it's going to happen all the time, and we'll be able to pull that information right away.
Any other commission comments?
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Yes, Commissioner Simmons, and I apologize. I'm having some major technical malfunction here with my internet connection tonight, so I have no idea where I dropped off. And I was talking earlier, and then everything just froze. So anyway, I've been reviewing this, and help me understand. We are actually purchasing these, correct? This is not a lease, Chief?
That is correct. We are purchasing the capability. If the equipment breaks, they give us a new one. We're literally purchasing the service and the software.
Okay, and the devices, do we own the devices, or are they leased devices?
No, they just come with the program. For example, if one breaks, we send it in, they send us a new one. So I actually am buying licenses, 65 licenses plus the 6 interview rooms. The equipment is just part of the program.
Okay, so that's what I was having a little bit of trouble understanding when I was reviewing all the information of whether these were leased devices or purchased devices. We're actually buying the licenses, and so it's my understanding the devices are coming along with that the licenses. So at the end of the 5-year term, if we decide not to renew that, we have no equipment to keep, correct, that belongs to us.
Correct.
Okay. Have we actually weighed the cost of that service with the cost of actually purchasing the devices where we own them, and we even after any time type of license contract might end, that we would actually physically own them, because this is a considerable amount of money to, at the end of 5 years, not actually have anything that we own.
One of the challenges that we have is similar to the nearly $250,000 program that we spend on our in-car camera system, is I own those. The problem is they're out of date, they're broken, and I have to replace them. And what I find, don't have the means to replace those. Technology advances faster than the hardware to keep up. Certainly, we run into processor and data transfer problems often. And so what this does is very similar, I think, to your smartphone. If you perhaps have a smartphone, you can call it a lease. I don't believe we're calling a lease in the contract at all. Again, we're buying the service, so they're going to provide us with the means, let's just say 65 of these smartphones for the officers, as well as laptops and equipment for the in-car portion of the system. And then that will continue over time. I think at the end of 5 years, if any of them have endured the entire 5-year period and haven't been replaced by the company in that 5 years, of which I'm sure a large portion of these things will, just over time and use and weather exposure, I think at the end of the day, it's going to cost me just as much to replace it if I don't have a program in place to built into this contract to replace them again.
Okay, I appreciate that information, Mayor. If I would just follow up with one last question.
Sure.
I'm a little concerned about the cloud. I understand security is done well usually in these cloud-based applications, but somebody, their username and password, these kind of things happen all the time, is compromised. I know this type of data is very important to keep secure. I know when you have these kind of videos, you know, whenever somebody views it, it's logged. Please explain to me about what we're doing to mitigate any concerns about security of cloud-based data that we absolutely need to keep very secure.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm going to answer some of that, only just to state that it's obviously a concern for us as well. I know it is a dual authenticated security to get into the system, but I know Sarah is out there in the background somewhere. Her staff has been key in reviewing this product with us. Sarah, can you speak to any of that security authentication for this particular system, please?
Absolutely, Chief. You know, without getting into the weeds of it, of course, because we don't really want to discuss security in a public meeting. But it is a system that we ensured was CJIS compliant, and it uses the FIPS compliance that we need to. It's a company that we have vetted. We've done our homework on the cybersecurity side, and we feel rather comfortable with the homework and the research that we did. I don't really want to get into a lot more details than that. So I'll stick with that we have done our homework on it, and we feel comfortable in the IT department with the compliance.
Good. Thank you, Sarah. We're going to go to Commissioner Ferris and then any other commissioner that has comments. And Commissioner Simmons, if you had more, just let me know.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I want to say that I've had broad support from both residents and law enforcement agents that have reached out to me saying that they support having this system in place. They all feel comfortable that it'll help protect safety on both sides of the camera. I did have some questions though. Folks are wondering, the newspaper article had stated that sergeants and patrol officers would have the camera system. So they were wondering who would not have the cameras and why would they not have the cameras?
Well, we had to draw the line somewhere in terms of, you know, we just didn't have the means to get it for everyone. And we had already priced out what that would be, so we reduced it. But I think this program is pretty resilient in that. So the entire patrol bureau, really the ones that answer the calls predominantly most of the time, I think where most of the risk is often identified and occurs, as is our patrol bureau. That's where all those interactions happen. They will be covered. In addition to that, we've got some cameras that would be utilized by some of our special teams, let's say the gang unit perhaps, or even the emergency response team to have on occasion during the high risk operation. We do have cameras available for that. But really the folks that won't have them, many of our detectives won't have them, but then they use the interview rooms quite a bit. or they go out in pairs. And then, of course, command officers won't have them. We just don't have that level of interaction except here on Zoom and our community engagements.
And then the next questions had to do with privacy issues and who would have access to the footage, both inside and outside of the police department.
Well, again, that has been a tricky question, I think, for many agencies when it comes to FOIA requests. Imagine a scenario where you have a nosy neighbor and they know that the police arrived, and so they then put in a FOIA request and want to see what does the inside of your house look like? Are you ready for fall? I don't know what it could be. And at the end of the day, I think it would go through the same redaction process all of our victims have to go through, and all of our reports is that we work with our clerk, we work with our city attorney, and we try to vet what can be removed and what can't be removed. I'm glad you brought this up, though. Another thing we did look at was very important to us is the redaction capability. How simple was it to be able to automatically redact information? And this system is very easy. Oh, it's always hard. It's always going to take time, but it's much easier than some of the older systems that we looked at. And I think the city attorney would like.
Yeah, go ahead, Jill. Thank you.
So there's actually the Law Enforcement Body-Worn Camera Privacy Act that was passed by the state legislature in 2017. And so that has specifics about a private place and things that are in a private place are generally not subject. We don't provide those with a FOIA request. So there's that protection already built in.
That kind of leads into my next question is, if you are on private property, can you request that the officers turn off their cameras?
Well, right now, I think it really depends on what it is. Why are we there? Generally, most of our interactions occur on private property. So obviously, if it's an event, certainly a criminal one, certainly a high-risk one, certainly where trauma has been induced and there may be a victim, those body cameras are going to be on.
And then, let's see, what's the last one? The last question had to do with if an officer either forgets to turn on the camera or loses the camera. What kind of internal policy would there be for that?
Well, again, it's very difficult. You have to work through some of those challenges. Forgetting is one thing, consciously forgetting is another. And what we look for there is sort of a pattern and a practice. And at the same time, I think you said losing the camera. There's two things that this system brings. One is it has a GPS location device in it. So wherever you are, wherever perhaps it is, we'll find it, much like some of your phones have the same capability. This is a smartphone in essence. The second question is many of the features of the system that we like so much is it removes that risk from the officer. If you've suddenly had to leap out of a car and pursue somebody and then you take them down, and you're not hurt, the person's not hurt, and you're really happy with how it all worked. Next thing you know, you realize, I didn't turn on my camera. It's not a priority sometimes. And I know it may seem as if it's easy to do, but unless you've had to do it, you have to recognize that it's not. So one of the things we were looking at is how can we build in a system that eliminates that lack of attention, so to speak, and the inability. And so that's what the system does. It'll automatically turn on that camera in many different scenarios. You draw your weapon from your holster, camera will be on. The vehicle's a high rate of speed, and you've got a high pulse because you've got like a sensitive watch that reads your pulse. It'll come on. The light bar comes on, the camera will come on. And if you're running, the camera will come on. Just a few examples.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner, for your good questions. Are there any other commissioners that would like to make comments at this time? Seeing none, I sense we're ready to vote on Resolution 213. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
Mayor Banky,
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Lance,
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sophia,
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Yes.
and Commissioner Ferris.
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 213 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 214. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
City of Battle Creek has used water shutoffs as a remedy for non-payment. This practice was immediately stopped on March 10, 2020, when the state of emergency across the state of Michigan was declared by Governor Whitmer. The Michigan Supreme Court determined the governor was not authorized by law to issue executive orders addressing COVID-19. The Public Health Director, Robert Gordon, concluded pursuant to MCL 333.2253 that the COVID-19 pandemic continues to constitute an epidemic in Michigan. He further concludes that control of the epidemic is necessary to protect the public health and that it is necessary to establish procedures to be followed during the epidemic to ensure the continuation of essential public health services and enforcement of health laws. Based on the statement of the MDHHS Director, Robert Gordon, the City of Battle Creek wants everyone to be able to continue following the hand washing guidelines during this pandemic to help reduce the spread of the virus. For this reason, a moratorium on water shutoffs is needed to support the continuation of safe practices that include frequent hand washing. This resolution places a moratorium on water shutoffs for the Battle Creek service area through the end of the year, December 31, 2020.
This is Commissioner Flores. I move for the approval of Resolution 214.
This is Commissioner Gray. Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 214. Are there any commission comments at this time? Yes, Commissioner Ferris.
I just want to make sure that the public was aware that this is just a moratorium for current water usage, that eventually a bill will come and it will be due. And I'm wondering if the city manager is aware of any programs to help folks that might be behind on paying their water bill at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, as a matter of fact, the city is partnering with Community Action on the MDHHS Utility Assistance Program. That will be for food stamp eligible customers within the Battle Creek region. They would be eligible for up to a $700 assistance for water and a $700 assistance for sewer. And again, we are partnering with Community Action to be able to do that. I've got to give a huge shout out to Sarah Van Warmer, who has basically written a program for us to be able to transfer data, our utility data to Community Action so that then they can in turn verify eligibility of clients through MDHHS. I know it's a huge undertaking and I can't tell you that that's completely up and running yet, but we are almost there. Battle Creek certainly is eligible for the program and certainly did sign up with MDHHS to do that. Right now, that's probably the best program that we have out there. And I believe that's through CARES Act dollars. But I appreciate you saying that there will, we will move forward with water shutoffs at some point when we believe it's safe from a public health perspective. But right now, that's certainly not the case. I also believe that under the MDHHS Utility Assistance Program, that for any eligible customers, we can't shut off water. I believe it's through the end of March anyway. However, I know the change with the governor's executive orders versus the MDHS director's orders, we just wanted to make it clear that we are continuing that moratorium on water shutoffs for non-payment until that public health issue is, at least better resolved. I think the other thing I'd like to note too is that there will still be instances where we need to shut off water. So for example, if we're doing work on water mains or sewer mains, part of our lead service replacement program, there will be times when we need to shut off water, or if there's a water main break, so we don't want our neighbors to think that we would never shut off water. This specific resolution is to non-payment, but there'll be other service and maintenance requirements on our systems that could and may require shutoffs at certain points of time. But we are doing our best to give people as much advance notice as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question, and thank you, City Manager, for your compassion and willingness to work with the people of Battle Creek. Are there any other questions on 214? Sorry about that.
Transportation, may I help you?
If not, Madam Clerk, we're ready to vote.
Hey, Bill, Mark's conducting the city.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
He's
Mayor Banky,
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Lance,
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sophia,
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferris,
Sophia.
Yes.
and Commissioner Flores.
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 214 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 215. Madam Clerk, when you are ready.
Pursuant to the City Commission adoption of Ordinance 818, hotels, motels, and tourist homes on October 6, 2020,
Right.
the fee bond and insurance schedule is being amended to include fees related to Ordinance
No.
818, regulating the operating of hotels, motels, and tourist homes within the city of Battle Creek. These fees are charged to hotels, motels, and tourist homes to cover the registration, inspection, and enforcement of the property. This resolution amends the 2020 fee bond and insurance schedule for the city of Battle Creek.
Commissioner Flores, I move for the approval of Resolution 215.
Commissioner Gray, support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 215. Are there any commission comments at this time? Are there any commission comments? I'm not seeing none. If anyone would like to say something, just speak up. But Madam Clerk, I do not feel there's any commission comments, so go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Lance,
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sophia,
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferris,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
and Mayor Banky.
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 215 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 216. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Pursuant to Act 152 of 2011, known as the Publicly Funded Health Insurance Contribution Act, sets forth requirements for local government units of government regarding the amount of public funds that can be used toward the cost of health insurance benefits for public employees. Those options are 80-20 and hard cap. Upon review, it has been determined the best option for the city of Battle Creek is 80-20. This 80-20 provision has been included in the city's collective bargaining agreements. This resolution elects to comply with the provisions of Public Act 152 of 2011 by exercising the city's right to implement the 80-20 requirement of the act for the plan year ending December 31, 2021.
This is Commissioner Flores. I move for the approval of Resolution 216.
Commissioner Gray, support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 216. Are there any commission comments at this time? Are there any commission comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, when you're ready, please call the roll on 216.
Commissioner Lance,
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sophia,
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferris,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
Mayor Banky,
Yes.
and Commissioner Griffin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 216 has been approved. Commissioner Simmons, your communication must be working well because I just heard the fire trucks leave the fire station number 6.
The joy of living right next door to that. Yes, I hear that numerous times a night.
All right, next item on our agenda is Resolution 217.
Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan has been the authorized healthcare organization for city employees and retirees for several years. Based upon a thorough review of coverage and experience by city staff and consultants from Gallagher Benefit Services, it is in the best interest of the city to continue the service agreement. The city has an obligation under collective bargaining agreements to provide its employees with options for healthcare coverage. This resolution authorizes the city manager to renew various healthcare plans under a self-funded plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan and Blue Care Network and related administrative services contract for plan year 1/1/2021 to 12/31/2021. This amount is estimated to be $8,832,941, not including employee premium share.
This is Commissioner Flores. I move for the approval of Resolution 217.
This is Commissioner Gray. Support.
It's moved and supported to approve Resolution 217. Are there any commission comments? Are there any commission comments? See none. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, please call the roll on 217.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sophia,
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferris,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
Mayor Banky,
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin,
Yes.
and Commissioner Lance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Resolution 217 has been approved. The final resolution on agenda for tonight's meeting is Resolution 218. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Last week, the Michigan legislature passed legislation signed by Governor Whitmer on October 16, 2020, codifying the terms that had previously been found in the executive orders by amending the Open Meetings Act to permit virtual meetings. The legislation is retroactive to March 18, 2020, thus obviating the need for the public body to ratify decisions made at those virtual meetings. The legislation requires that public bodies establish certain procedures under Public Act 228 of 2020, which are set out in this resolution. This resolution establishes procedures by which an absent member may participate in and vote on business before the public body when participating remotely pursuant to Michigan Public Act 228 of 2020, amending the Open Meetings Act and establishing that all City of Battle Creek public meetings will be held remotely through December 31, 2020.
This is Commissioner Flores. I move for the approval of Resolution 218.
This is Commissioner Gray. Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 218. Are there any commission comments at this time? Are there any commission comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, when you're ready, please call the roll on 218.
Vice Mayor Sophia,
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferris,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
Mayor Banky,
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Lance,
Yes.
and Commissioner Simmons.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you. Resolution 218 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is general public comment. We have comments limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record. And Sarah, do we have anyone in the queue?
Sorry, yes, we do, Mayor. I lost my unmute button there for a second. We'll start with John Kennefic. Please press *6, John.
Can you hear me, Mayor?
Go ahead, John.
Okay, I'd appreciate you not censoring me like you did the last time. Let me begin by saying a few things.
John,
We
number
heard the
one, I'm not
budget.
pestering you. I'm just running the meeting, all right? So,
You did it the last time by cutting me off. Anyway, I'd like to talk about the budget for a moment that Linda Morrison was talking about. I've always said that the city government charges income tax on the food you eat. If you'd like to know how that works, all you have to do is look at the 1040 on the state form, line 9A. The government determined, the state government determined that it costs $4,400 to feed one person. If you ever look at on the city 1040, line 21, the government of Battle Creek says it only costs $750. You take the $750 minus the $4,400 that the state says it costs to feed somebody, and that's the exact amount of money they charge you income tax on the food you eat. Now, it really comes down to that when you filled out your forms in July or whatever, the city government received an extra $2,190,000. That is supposed to be in the citizens' pockets and not the state, not the government of Battle Creek's pockets. Now, I noticed that two people on the commission were part of the Binder Park Golf Course Advisory Committee. And I noted that many years ago, the citizens of Battle Creek, the taxpayers, paid for a piece of property and it cost them approximately in payments about $60,000. The city government then sold that property many years later for $172,000. You minus the 60 off to 172,000, and you'd find a profit of $112,000. The city government kept that money, and during this time, the government of Battle Creek spent $425,000 for brand new gas-powered golf carts at the Binder Park Golf Course. And while that was going on, they sold the old electric golf courts for $159,000 and then kept the money. When you talk about things of representing the citizens of Battle Creek and you basically swindle them out of any kind of profits, I really do question that. It has been said that I have believe in a less oppressive government. Can't argue with that. You guys have sort of created the attitude. I was listening to the city commissioner reading the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of this meeting, and it ends with liberty and justice for all. I never realized that taxing the heck out of everybody was that liberty. Also, if you're doing so well in the city of Battle Creek, why are we losing population? And if we go to the mathematics of building the economy with business here, you'd probably find that the way business is
Thank you
going
very
in Battle
much,
Creek.
John.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank
Sir,
you.
do we have anyone else in the queue?
Yes, we do. Yeah, Mr. Compton, please go ahead and press *6, John Compton.
Go ahead, John.
Yes, hello?
Go ahead, John.
Yes, hello? Are you there? Mark, can you hear me?
Go ahead, John.
Okay. Let me clear something up here from last week's city commission meeting. Ward 4 commissioner took a good cheap shot at me, and I didn't have a chance to comment back to him because it was at the end of the meeting like it always is, and residents don't have a chance to reply to it. But last meeting, the Ward 4 commissioner kind of was saying that, you know, he refuses to take my phone calls, only my emails, probably which he's going to throw away. But if Ward 4 commissioner would kind of remember, he said I cussed at him and stuff, you know, but if Ward 4 commissioner would or could remember, on January 24th, 2019, at a public workshop, he got into my face about a residence, Lindsay Wheeler, about segregation. He said Lindsay didn't have nothing and shouldn't have said nothing at the city commission meeting on the 22nd. I told Ward 4 commissioner that Lindsay had all the right in the world to say what he would. Ward 4 commissioner, quote me as, told me to F off. Chief Blocker stepped in between us and broke us up. Okay? So Ward 4 commissioner, you and Flores, well, should I say Ward 3 commissioner, both agreed at that meeting on the 22nd that Lindsay Wheeler had no right to say what he said about segregation. And you about come out of your chair, Ward 4, and I don't know how you have the right to cuss at people, and also cussing at people at a tattoo parlor, taking parking places for the handicapped. You and Mr. Simmons should automatically get out of office. We should have Jerry in there as mayor. He will keep you to your toes. And John Kenefich. Again, thank you. See you guys, because I think you're all done.
Are there any other comments in the queue, Sarah?
No, there are not, Mayor. We are all set.
All right, next item on our agenda is commission comments. Are there any commission comments tonight? Yes, Vice Mayor Sherry Sophia.
Thank you, Mayor. I would ask the city manager to talk about Halloween. I've been getting a lot of questions from folks about what's happening with Halloween. Is trick-or-treating allowed? A lot of questions along those lines. So I would like the city manager to address that if she would be so kind.
I would happy to, and I was trying to pull up that information that got sent to you today, Vice Mayor. So you're a little bit on the spot. I've been focusing very much certainly on the Battle Creek Police Department's trunk or treat activities, and that's all over social media. We really don't guide trick or treating. We don't set hours or anything like that. We just have reminded people about both the CDC guidance and the MDHH guidance about Halloween activities, and remind people to be safe with whatever you choose. I think all of us that have been paying close attention to the COVID numbers in Calhoun County, as they've been on the rise, we just can't say it. And I know you're getting tired of hearing it, can't say it enough, that you need to be cautious, continue to wash hands, 6 feet, and wear masks when you're out in public. That's why one of the reasons that the police department did such a phenomenal job coming up with a way to distribute fun treats to kids without ever having to touch anything, using PVC pipe. So I'm anxious to see that happening. But we have also gotten a lot of those calls as well. And I hope I've gotten all your questions. I just haven't been able to pull up that particular piece of information, but that's really how we've been guiding the calls that we get into the city manager's office.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Vice Mayor Sophia and City Manager. Are there any other commission comments at this time?
Yes, Mayor.
Sure, go ahead, Lynn Ward-Gray.
Thank you so much. I just want to call upon our city clerk. We were talking a little bit about voting and how things were looking. And I did have a few questions just to give some information to the general public about voting, and give them an update on their options. One, I wanted to ask about poll workers. Where are we with that? Are we still in need, or are you all set? I'll start with that one and then ask my next question.
We have trained several poll workers. They are now certified to work. We've lost a few poll workers. I think the training kind of presented to them all the duties that are required of them on election day, and the fact that it is going to be a very long, busy day. So we have lost a few who have decided that they're not really up for that long of a day. We continue to take applications. Anybody who applies now or who applied after October 15th will be required to take an online training in order to be certified to work the election.
Thank you. My next question has to do with spoiled ballots. You mentioned that there's a number of spoiled ballots that are coming in. Can you explain that definition and some of those major reasons why that is happening? And maybe we can mitigate some of those here tonight.
So a lot of people are confused because of the straight party ticket. They feel that if they vote straight party, but then they see a candidate in another party that they wish to vote for, that they have to have their whole ballot redone, and they don't necessarily have to do that. If you vote, I think Jessica has a press release, but the ladies in my office are using colors or many different things. So if you use the straight party and you pick, say, the purple party, but then you decide later in the on the ballot that you want a candidate who is in the orange party, you can still mark that one candidate or a couple candidates in those other races, but for the straight party piece, it will keep the vote for everyone other than those in the orange that you directly marked. That's confusing to a lot of voters. It's what we get the most requests for, but we also have people who are who discover after the fact that they have marked more candidates than they're allowed. We had somebody today, there was only supposed to be 2 votes and they voted for 3. In that instance, we would spoil their ballot and give them a new ballot so that they can start over again.
And for those who asked for an absentee ballot, received that absentee ballot, but changed their mind and want to vote in person on election day, what is the process for that?
There's 2 different ways they can do it. They're welcome to come into our office, and we have a form. They can surrender their ballot to our office. They would mark that they want to surrender the ballot, and then what is their decision? Do they want a new ballot issued, or do they want to vote at the polls? So they would just check the box and then sign the form, and they would surrender their ballot to us. They're also welcome, if they wish to, surrender their ballot at the polling location. which means simply when they get in line, they will meet with the precinct inspectors who will discover that they've already been issued an absentee ballot. They have the option of filling out the form, and the form will ask them if they're surrendering their ballot, if they never received their ballot, if they lost or destroyed their ballot. They just have to check one of the boxes, and then what their intention is, whether it's to vote in the precinct or decide to take their ballot to the city clerks, the absentee ballot.
And for the option to do in-person absentee voting, can you explain voters' options for that? To, if they're not registered, to register, and then in-person vote, the request the get the application to request their absentee, and then to vote. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So as of yesterday was the last day to register by mail or online. Therefore, they have to register in person at the city clerk's office. While they're there registering, they are welcome to ask for an absentee ballot. They're welcome to vote the ballot right here in the lobby in our office, or they may take it home, whichever is their preference. It's a fairly easy process as far as registering to vote. We request they bring in their ID, and their ID may already have their address on it. And if not, then to also bring us something that provides us their address. If they don't have something that provides residency, then it will be submitted as a challenged ballot, which we wait for them to bring us information related to their residency, and then it will remove the challenge portion of it.
I want to encourage everyone to remember to vote the back of the ballot. The local city commission election is on the back, and lots of the nonpartisan races are on the back. So do remember to do that. Vicki, is there anything else that has come up that would be helpful to clarify for the voting public?
One other thing is a lot of people are concerned because the absentee ballot envelope, they do have to sign before submitting it. And a lot of people have decided that we had a gentleman yesterday who said that it could lead to identity fraud if he put his signature on the back of the ballot, back of the envelope. And so he just did like a couple swirls instead of what his signature truly is. The signatures that we compare all of the envelopes to are what are in the Michigan State Qualified Voter File, which parallels the Secretary of State driver's license and Michigan ID signatures. And if that signature doesn't match, we cannot accept that ballot. We have to reject it. If the voter has provided their phone number or an email on the application, we are contacting them. If they don't have that, then we will mail the ballot back to them with a Post-it note and highlighting, asking them to make sure to sign it in a form if they wish to change the signature that we have in the database, so that in the future we can use that other signature.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Linward Gray, for those very good questions. And thank you, Vicki. I know last week you prepared for me a host of topics to talk about during my WBCK report, and I really appreciate that. And I'll probably ask you to do the same thing this week, because I think there were a lot of timely points to share with the public. Are there any other commission comments at this time? I'm not seeing any, but I just want to go back in time to 1992 when the City Commission did dabble in Halloween, and we moved the Halloween day from a Sunday to a Saturday. And it caused a lot of confusion in the city. And I think everyone learned their lesson that you don't touch Halloween. So, with that being said, thank you very much for attending our City Commission meeting tonight.